Thank you for joining us for the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. The Advancing Oceanside podcast hosts business and community leaders from all industries to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for a prosperous economic climate here in Oceanside.
When the initial incident happened, it was because I put Black owned on the window. So, the marches were happening, the protests were happening. Everyone was boarding up their stores. I wasn't able to board up Bliss. So in the window, I put, we stand with you, Black Lives Matter, Black owned. And the person that shot at the window actually said that they didn't believe that it was Black owned. So that's the reason why they shot at it.
Wow.
When I heard that, not only was I mortified, but I also felt like there are some lessons that we all need to learn from this. And we all need to learn that everybody is capable of owning a business like Bliss. Everybody is. Just because it's a tea room doesn't mean that it can't be Black owned.
On today's special episode, we're honoring Black History Month. Joining us is Rushell and Al Gordon from Bliss Tea Treats to discuss what Black history means to them and how the appreciation for their ancestors' strength and journey is driving their work ethic today. Let's hear what they have to say. Welcome to the Advancing Oceanside podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Gilbert, and today we've got a very special episode honoring Black History Month. Here with us today is Rushell and Al Gordon, the brother and sister duo from Bliss Tea Treats, a modern-day lounge and tea room right here in downtown Oceanside. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Good, how are you, Hannah?
Great. I'm so glad you guys are with us today, and I'm really excited for this episode and to hear what you guys have to say. So let's just get right into it. Can you guys tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got the idea for Bliss Tea Treats?
Well, our background, I'm Rushell, this is Al. I actually spent maybe 25 years in corporate. And during that time, I traveled a lot and saw a lot of different cultures during that time. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was the tea experiences that I had. And I just found that going to different countries and seeing how everyone just really relaxed around tea was really nice. And it just wasn't an experience that we had here. So that's the reason why I decided to open a tea room in Oceanside, because there just wasn't one here, and I would have to travel just to have that experience.
Right, absolutely. And before you guys even put your little shop in there, I never would even have thought of a full tea experience. So you guys bringing that to Oceanside and bringing it to the community was really awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about, the core experience of tea culture and how you realized from your travels that every culture seems to utilize it in a way to connect with others or to connect with their community?
It's in London. I remember going to the Harrods Tea Room, and it was so extravagant and beautiful, and they put so much into it, and you couldn't even get a tea time at the tea room. In Japan, when I would go there, I would always have dinner, but as part of the dinner experience, there was always tea, right? You would always sit down and you would kind of start the process with tea, end the process with tea. Same thing in China. Start the process with tea, you end the process with tea. I mean, there's a very specific reason why you do that. The tea actually helps your digestion of the food that you consume. So I didn't know what the reason was until I started taking classes through the World Tea Academy, but I always found that it was a part of the process. But we grew up drinking tea.
Yeah.
Our family
indirectly. It wasn't purposely.
It wasn't conscious.
It just happened to have tea. It was just
You start your day and you have tea, and it was really about having something hot to drink in the morning. And we didn't go to school unless we had something hot, whether it was tea or
oatmeal, cream of wheat.
It was something. It was always had to be something hot. So you kind of just always expected to have some tea in the morning. Yeah. Back then, we were drinking Lipton. We no longer drink Lipton.
Still good though. It's still good.
Yeah, we no longer drink Lipton, but we grew up drinking tea, and a lot of times we even grew up drinking. You would just go pick mint from the yard, or you would, get fresh herbs from the yard, and that's actually how you made the tea. So it just was always a part of our culture.
Wow, that's awesome. And I found it really unique that you guys are actually using things from your garden. So it kind of just moved into what you guys have now today, which is Bliss Tea and Treats. So that's cool. Why did you choose downtown Oceanside as your desired location for this tea room?
I just, I would travel to Escondido, to San Diego, to San Clemente, um, to visit their tea rooms, and I was like, well, why doesn't Oceanside have one? Why do I have to travel to get to one? So that was the reason why I felt it needed to be in Oceanside, because Oceanside didn't have that experience. But I also wanted it to be downtown Oceanside because I really thought being a part of the resurgence of Oceanside was important. Now, we lived in Oceanside back in 85. Back in 85.
Mm-hmm.
A really long time ago. It was a really long time ago.
The cool time period.
Yes. So we lived in Oceanside back in 85 for about 5 years. We were on Camp Pendleton, and it was a very different place back then. Oceanside was a very different
very challenging.
Yeah, very different.
I can imagine.
So we left Oceanside. My dad took us to San Francisco, and I never thought I would move back. But when I decided to move back, I was really excited about what was happening in the city. I mean, there was so much development happening. Hill Street was no longer Hill Street. Now it's Highway. Mission just was transformed, right? And I mean, what's happening down on Mission Street is really awesome. So to be able to find a space down there on Mission near the ocean was really pretty amazing. I mean, I really think it was kind of divine intervention that took me down there, because I looked at other parts of Oceanside, down like Oceanside Boulevard, that area. And then one day I just woke up and it just clicked. I was like, I have to go down on Mission. I have to see what's available. And it just happened that my space became available just like that time. It just become available. Like the sign just went in the window. And I think I was just really lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it was exactly meant to be, and downtown is where you're supposed to be at. So I know you kind of talked about how Oceanside has changed. Can you talk to us a little bit about the culture of Oceanside and how your tea room kind of adds to the overall downtown experience?
What do you think?
The culture of Oceanside?
The culture of Oceanside.
The funny thing with Oceanside is like a lot of people don't like change. They kind of want Oceanside to be that sleeping giant, whereas you go to other beach cities, Redondo, Hermosa, they're more pretentious. This is my beach, this is my area, what have you. And Oceanside has always been more welcoming. But to grow, you have to change. Right. So that's where I think we're at, whereas like they want the city to grow and look nicer, but they still want to remain that quaint, cute little town. So, but yeah, other than that, it's still Oceanside. I mean,
the people are really cool here, though. I think what you find is you can go to a lot of other beach cities, and Oceanside is probably the most welcoming and the most friendly. And I think even like the tourists that come in to visit, I ask them, I'm like, oh, why did you choose Oceanside for your vacation? And they always say that. They always say it's so friendly here, and it's kind of like a hidden gem that a lot of people don't know about. So it's kind of like their little vacation secret that's getting out. The vacation secret.
And it's affordable, because they pass up. They always come from OC. They always pass up all these big cities just to get to Oceanside. They're like, we can still come here, have a good time, and not break the bank. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot.
Absolutely. And there's so many experiences, not only your tea room, but just other experiences downtown that invite people in. And going off on the welcoming aspect, I think it's also because we do have such a diverse climate in Oceanside. It's like everyone can come and everyone can feel welcome. And to me, that's something that's really special that I think our city has that a lot of other cities might not have to offer. So great. Let's shift over into Black history a little bit, and specifically Oceanside's Black history. What does that mean to you guys?
So, Oceanside's Black history is interesting because, I was doing some research and realized that a lot of Black people migrated to Oceanside in the 40s. And then obviously there was, civil rights movement and so forth. When we came to Oceanside, in the early 80s, it still felt like a welcoming place. It wasn't like Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we lived, right? It was Jacksonville, North Carolina is the South.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to this country from Panama and living in the South is your first home. Thank God we have the protection of the military base, right? That kind of isolated us from a lot of that. But then you still had to go out in town. You still had, we would travel to New York a lot. And so you still had the reality of some of the remnants of the civil rights movement. There was still the Ku Klux Klan around. I mean, there was still a lot of that. And being a new immigrant to this country, there was a lot of adjustment. It was like, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, why is there this kind of divide?
Mm-hmm.
So when we came to Oceanside, it was kind of a relief. It was just a change of pace. Not to say that it didn't exist, but it wasn't as intense as in the South. So
you can let your hair down.
Yeah.
Kind of walk, not as guarded, not as just like. Yeah, just relax. That's the best way I can describe it to you.
Like a weight lifted off your shoulder, I guess.
Indirectly, it's funny. You just feel it. It's not someone pointing out to you. You just feel like that feeling.
I will tell you this story. I in my previous career, I would have to travel back to Charlotte on a weekly basis, and I did that for about a year and a half. And I was working at Bank of America, and I was working on this huge project. But for that year and a half, I never rented a car. I never drove. I always had a driver that would pick me up, take me to my apartment, and then on Fridays I would leave, right? I rarely ever spent the weekend there. And I think that was residue from our childhood, right? Me just not feeling safe. So because I didn't feel safe, I wouldn't even rent a car. I wouldn't even go and do stuff. And that's actually completely out of character for me, because for me, I'm always gone. I'm always renting a car, doing whatever. But when I was in Charlotte, I did not feel that sense of safety. And when I look back at that, I really think it's just from what I believe the South to be. And I think that's why there were a lot of people that did migrate to Southern California, to Oceanside, because they felt like there were no rules here. You didn't necessarily have to know your place.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's my experience with Black history
in Oceanside. Looking at the greater picture, what does Black history mean to you and to your family?
Black history to me and to my family. So my grandmother migrated from the Caribbean to Panama. She worked as a nurse. A lot of Panamanians that came to this country were affiliated with the military, and somehow, right, the U.S. military was in Panama. They created opportunities. If you spoke English, right, and a lot of people that migrated to Panama spoke English, also spoke Spanish. They had the advantage of being bilingual. But my grandmother created the opportunity for my dad to then come to this country, be able to join the U.S. military in the 70s, and then he brought us here. So he brought us here in the late 70s. So for me, Black history is really about the ancestors that have created opportunities for us. When I think about, who are my heroes, who are the people that I admire, I look at my grandmother. I'm like, the fact that she was able to be in Panama, somehow become a nurse, and create a livelihood for her family, and then create an opportunity for her son to be able to come here, this country, join the military, bring us here. Back when my dad joined the military, it was still very difficult to go through boot camp, but he did it for his family. So as parents, I can look back at it now as a parent and say, yes, we do this. We work hard so our kids will have a greater opportunity. But I think I can appreciate what my parents did and what they endured in order to bring us to this country and in order for us to have a better opportunity. So we can only open Bliss in downtown Oceanside because of the work that they did and the shoulders that we stand on.
Yeah. I mean, the way you pay it forward is by not making excuses. And a lot of times people say, "Oh, it's not what you say; it's how you say it." I mean, work is work. I mean, I can't sugarcoat work. Either you want to do it or you don't. We always, no matter what, it's like we're running around today. We're going to come in, do this. I'm going to run right back to Bliss and set up the whole place tomorrow. Yeah, we can put it off. We can hire someone, say, you guys do that, and da-da-da. But for me, I'm trying to fill shoes that I may never be able to fill. You know, the lights come on when I hit the switch. The water runs hot when I turn it to hot. Like, these are all things that I'm not trying to make someone feel guilty. But when I wake up every day, these are the shoes that I'm trying to fill internally. I don't need someone to give me a pep talk. I don't need a rub my shoulder. I know what I got to do. And that's what it means to me. It's just doing what you got to do.
But it's the work ethic, I think, that you grow up with, right? So I think because my dad was in the military, there was no sick days. There was no, I'm not going to work, or I don't feel good, or there was none of that. And I think we both grew up with that. So we both share that work ethic. And we just, do what we have to do to get it done. But that's what that was the example that we grew up with.
Yeah, I never had a sick day.
What's sick?
It don't matter. Even when I had my business, I told mentally, it's like, you're not feeling well, you better hit 3 of these Theraflus, go to bed right away, because tomorrow, if you don't show up, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
Point blank. There's no gray area. And if you are sick, you go in, your boss will look at you like, no, not today. And that you call out sick is not like, I sent a text message, did you get the email, I sent you a message on Instagram.
Right.
You showed up, you look like crap, you go home.
Right.
And that, it's mind over matter.
It's a work day.
It's a work day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that work ethic really shows in your guys' work with Bliss. I mean, opening during a pandemic and then closing and having to jump through all the hoops that you did, and still the stuff that you guys are doing to try and promote it, that work ethic really shows through in how hard you guys are trying to get it up and running and provide this for the community. I know you touched on your ancestors a little bit, but how do you think they influenced you more than just through your work ethic? I know that you probably hit on this all the way, is like the work ethic, and like you said, knowing the shoes to fill was the primary influence, but did they influence you in any other way?
Well, it's funny because I feel like I'm going through school all over again because I have a 10-year-old. So because she's doing a lot of virtual learning, I'm really involved in the learning process. So now, for Black History Month, they're doing some stuff around slavery and so forth. And you think about the voyage and what people have gone through and the strength to survive. Right. And, slaves did not just come to North America. They came to Central America, South America. I mean, it was throughout the Americas. So we're all descendants of the slave trade. And the strength that comes with that, it's like being reminded of that as I'm going through this curriculum. And a lot of times, we learn stuff in school, but it doesn't quite sink in. But now I'm relearning a lot of things. I'm looking at how it's being taught, and I'm having conversations with her. And it touches even deeper now, because now I can really appreciate the hard work that has gone into building this country, and that has gone into the progress that has been made over the last, couple hundred years. I mean, if you think about when segregation ended, when the civil rights movement happened, all of this is still like within our lifetime. It's like, I was born in the early 70s. So a lot of this was still fresh.
Right.
So you look at these things, and you look at, when JFK was assassinated, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, it's still new. We're in 2021, but a lot of this is still very new because a lot of the people that were alive in that time frame are still alive.
Right.
We're all still here. So there's this whole re-education. There's this whole process that this country is going through right now that hopefully will change history for our kids. But we're still very fresh in what we call Black history.
Right, absolutely. And going off of that work of your ancestors, and I guess tying into exactly what you just said, where do we go from here to continue to build on the work that has already been done?
I mean, also you got to think about how your mindset when certain things come at you. I think it's either using humor or using patience. And a lot of times, sometimes people talk to you sideways, and you just you really got to think about it like, okay, I can either do something really, like I can really go off on this person,
right?
Buttons are pushed, or I can say, you know what, let's
use some humor.
Let's use some humor. Let's try it up, because that could be catastrophic for the rest of your life. So yeah, I preach hard work all the time, but there's a part of me that uses humor to kind of diffuse certain situations. And there's times when, silence will let someone know, like, you might want to back up a little bit, just as a warning signal. Just because I'm cracking jokes don't mean, things won't go sideways. But it's knowing when to use all those things in your life to keep the ball rolling in a certain direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know back in June, your shop was obviously the target of a senseless act of vandalism. Can you tell us a little bit about the emblem that you chose to place onto the glass once it was replaced? Why? Just explain to us what exactly it was and why you chose that.
I chose a teapot pouring hearts into a cup because I really felt like that's how the end result happened. So when the initial incident happened, it was because I put Black owned on the window. So, the marches were happening, the protests were happening, everyone was boarding up their stores. I wasn't able to board up Bliss, so in the window I put, we stand with you, Black Lives Matter, Black owned. And the person that shot at the window actually said that they didn't believe that it was Black owned. So that's the reason why they shot at it.
Wow.
When I heard that, not only was I mortified, but I also felt like there are some lessons that we all need to learn from this. And we all need to learn that everybody is capable of owning a business like Bliss. Everybody is. Just because it's a tea room doesn't mean that it can't be Black owned.
Right.
And that's basically what he was saying. He was like, there's no way this nice place can be owned by a Black person, so I'm going to shoot the window.
Wow.
Right? And I thought, wow, okay, let's see if there's something good that can come out of this. And there was a lot of good that came out of it. The community was so unbelievably supportive. We were going to be closed that weekend because everybody around us was closed. And we decided, okay, we want to shoot the window. We're going to open. We're going to show up. And we dropped the curtain so you couldn't see, the window boarded up.
Yeah.
But that day may have been our biggest day in sales.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The community came out. They were like, we heard what happened. We wanted to support. There were people writing to me online. I think there's still people that come in today that heard about that incident.
Yeah.
That want to come and support. They're like, I heard about the window. I'm like, that was like June.
Yeah.
And they still in the back of their head, they're like, I can't believe that happened. I want to come out and show my support. So, that runs deep, right? That runs deep, that people all took it so personal that they wanted to leave their safety zone because we were still in quarantine at that point. And they came in, and they came in and they were very supportive, and we had a good weekend that weekend because they really lifted our spirits. I mean, we went into the weekend feeling like, okay, we have staff who doesn't feel comfortable coming in because they're scared, but we did it ourselves. We were like, the two of us worked that weekend by ourselves, and it was super busy, but it was worth it. It was worth it because I think the message that we sent was, we're going to be here.
Yeah, no matter
whether you like it or not, we're here. And we're still here. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And every time I drive by there and I see it and it says community, it just reminds me of the special place that we do have in Oceanside. And it makes me so proud of all the downtown businesses who came together to get that window replaced for you guys. And obviously just how it goes off of your guys' work ethic. And like you said, you're not going to take us down. You know, we're here to stay, and we're going to power through this. So I didn't know all the facts about the story you shared. So that's pretty amazing. And I'm glad that you're able to overcome that. I can't even believe someone would say that. But like I said, like you said, there's a lot of good that did come out of that. So that's great.
And the way to answer your question about the decal that we put up there was very intentional, because we spelled community with a capital U, right? So that, people understand community, unity. But his restaurant in LA was named Community.
Okay.
So he didn't even know that I was going to put that on the window. And when he came and saw it, he was like,
I was like, it's still
awesome. That's so great. Is your restaurant spelled the same way?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, yeah, just community, like the way you regular spell it. Like
okay, cool. That's awesome. I had no idea you were a restaurant owner in LA, so that's cool. That's great. Well, awesome. Where can we find your tea room in downtown? Can you kind of describe the location, and then also let us know how people can get in contact with you through Facebook or your website or however, and maybe some events you guys may have coming up if people want to join after hearing this?
Sure. So we're located at 301 Mission Avenue, Unit 101A. So we're right at the corner of Cleveland and Mission. The 301 building is a big building. It's, Harney Sushi's our neighbor. But we're kind of tucked away right there in the corner, on the corner of Cleveland and Mission. We are open right now, Thursday through Sunday. We open at 11. Our hours probably will change as we go into the spring. We'll probably have later hours. We're working on a concept called Bliss After Dark.
Nice. I'm excited to hear.
So that's something that we're working on. It should be a lot of fun. So that'll come probably in March. We also have several events that we host. This weekend, we are hosting a Shakespeare play. It's called 12th Night. It'll be outside on our patio. We'll also be serving high tea as part of that experience. So that's on the 13th. We're doing high tea for Valentine's Day, obviously. But we also do things like Poetic Sanctuary. Poetic Sanctuary, I think now that poets are getting center stage, like Amanda Gorman at the inauguration, people are seeing, oh, wow, yeah, that is a true talent.
Right.
And it's something that we've been doing here in Oceanside since maybe July. I think we started doing Poetic Sanctuary in July. And from the time we started it, people really embraced it. So we do it on the patio every third Friday from 6 to 8. We have different poets that come out. Sometimes we have a blues bass player playing in the background. So it's a lot of fun. It's a cool experience for the community. We've done paint nights. We do decorating.
Book
club.
A one-stop shop.
Our thing is just, if you're going to get out of the house and do something, make it count. It's like, if you just type in, number one tea room, number one date spot, like, that's us, It's a good place to hang out, hang out, kick it, great conversation. You see my personality, I'm going to talk to you regardless. Coming in a bad mood, sometimes you just want to talk to another adult, in a different perspective, and we're just going to just have a good time, kick it, have some good food, and just be adult, just have a good time. Real simple.
I call him customer retention.
Yes.
Because people
ideal.
And no one expects this from him, but he's like he's a talker.
Like the ideal partner.
No, but this is all working on yourself, because as a chef, you're in the kitchen and you only talk to your crew.
Right.
You don't go to the tables. You might talk to the GM every now and then, maybe the owner every now and then. So I'm not used to being in front. I'm always in the back of the house. So this has forced me to really be like, if you want to grow, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. You can't grow from safety. You know, so these are all things that we're working on, whether it's customer service or just yourself.
Yeah.
And it only takes 3 questions and that person's telling you about everything. You just with this on the table. How did you?
Right. And then you just have to have really good listening skills from there.
Yeah, we kind of tag team. It's like there's some customers that love talking to me, some that love talking to him.
Some of your fairy dust, I can't. As much as I can, I need you to go sprinkle your thing on it, and it works. But there's knowing when to give and take and when to maneuver. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, but both of us, I think, naturally are kind of shy. But
I would never know, to be honest.
Let's kind of brings that
it's
out.
game time. Yeah, it's game time. When the light open, I mean, whether the light's on or not, it's always game time when you're there. Because there's times we're setting up and people are at the door like they just want to see the place. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna talk to you at 11. I'm not ready. Mentally. Right. Setting up the patio, they're what is this place? You got to be on. So you can't say, I'm setting up the patio and I'll talk to you in a minute. You always got to elude that comfort,
that welcoming,
yeah.
And one of the things that I think also almost creates an alter ego is we wear costumes a lot of times. So when you're in a Beauty and the Beast costume, he has the fancy costume. You kind of take on a different persona, and almost that childlike personality comes out. So that's what I hear a lot. Like people see us and they just think it's so cute, And
it's hard for them to be upset because they're like, man, this person got on a costume and I'm mad because I got a ticket today. It's like,
right.
Come on,
If they started out in a bad mood, they're in a better mood when they walk.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we got all dressed up.
I said, put on my thing and I'll be right back.
Yeah. I love it. And I love the Alice in Wonderland. I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. So when you guys had that whole segment, I was like, that is genius. I love it. You guys were on point the whole time. So I appreciated that.
That one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's still playing the Alice in Wonderland soundtrack. I love it. We're on Beauty and the Beast right now. He's like, but I miss Alice.
I just needed a little hit.
It's like Christmas music in July. It just makes you feel good. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on today and telling us about your history and talking to us a little bit about Black history as well. And like I said before, you guys are just a testament to the work ethic and continuing to continue to work towards what your ancestors, already laid for you and for the rest of us. And I really appreciate, like I said, you guys coming on here and speaking with me, and I hope to visit your tea room soon, and I hope everybody else in town can stop by and visit as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Hannah.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Continue with us on our journey to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for Oceanside. You can view all of our other podcasts on any podcast listening location, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or visit our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to catch all the latest updates on all things Oceanside. Join us next week as we host another influential leader from our community.